world champion, looking to keep the winning ways going here at Hayward Field. NBC Sports welcomes you to Day 6 of US Olympic track and field team trials. The road to Tokyo continues here at this brand new $200+ million venue that has seen some wonderful feats already. And look at the day, look at the menu we've got for you today at just what's coming up in the field and on the track. So much happening over the next 3 hours live here on NBCSN. And we're not going to mess about. We're going to get straight to the action for you with the first heat of the men's 200 meters. And we've got the whole family here. Lewis Johnson is chatting with the athletes on the field. Paul Swangard's handling field. Sonia Richards-Ross, Addo Bolden, Kara Goucher, and myself, Lee Diffie, bringing you the action. And let's get it going with the world champion, Noah Lyles.
The fourth fastest man ever at the distance, but his 100-meter attempt did not go well. He was only 7th in that final last Sunday. So this is his only chance to make an individual team to Tokyo.
Noah is up against Rodney Rowe, Erriyon Knighton. We will talk more about him, Gavin Shaw, Marcus Parker, and Fred Kerley, who's already qualified for the team in the 100 meters. There is Fred.
That's right, Lee. He was expected to start here at 400 meters. He's number 6 on the all-time list, Otto, at 43 seconds, but decided to run the 100 meters here. And maybe to our surprise, but not his or his coach, he ran 9:86 and finished 3rd. Fred Kerley is already on the Olympic team at 100 meters, so it should be no surprise what he does here in the men's 200.
And he figures to be this man's chief opposition. I can tell you, Fred Kerley, no pressure. I'm already on the flight to Tokyo. This is just bonus. I'm playing with house money.
Fred Kerley is in blue in 8, then Noah Lyles right alongside. Keep an eye on those bright yellow shoes of the 17-year-old from Florida, Erriyon Knighton.
And Knighton will come off the turn with a lead. Fred Kerley way back off the pace, but now here he comes. Look at the high schooler looking around, controlling this heat. So Erriyon Knighton turned pro, and that's the only reason why that is not a high school record, breaking none other than Noah Lyles' high school record. 20:04 by a 17-year-old. He broke Usain Bolt's under 18 world record earlier this year. So there's Knighton, there's Lyles. A little surprised to see the high schooler controlling this heat.
Surprise for me too. We knew that he had excellent chops and would be able to definitely make it through this round easily. But look at this. Looks like Usain Bolt when he used to run in the first rounds. Like, where's everybody at? Okay, well, if you guys are going to let me take it, I'm happy to do that. Easy into the semifinal.
And we remember 5 years ago, it was Noah Lyles and Mike Norman, the high schoolers, that were looking around at the seniors and thinking, hey, where are you guys? This guy, Knighton, is going to play a factor in these 200-meter rounds.
And he ran in an international meet against Great Britain's Zarnell Hughes, Adam Jamili recently, and was able to handle them no problem either. Lewis Johnson, that was quite the run from the teenager.
Quite the run from here, and Noah Lyles with the big Q as well. You automatically qualified on through. So you've already run the 100. Just give us a sense of what you've been doing since we've seen you and now being back on the track.
Yeah, since after the 100, I've really just been getting ready. I've been with my massage therapist, my chiropractor, eating some, healthy food to get me back in that action, make sure that when I come back on here, I'm recovered and ready to go.
Yeah, being considered one of the best in the world is great, but also having competition is great as well. When you look at Erriyon and others, what's your mindset in trying to deal with this competition to make sure you make this team in an individual event?
Me and my coach, we haven't done so much in the 200 this year, but to be honest, it's kind of speaking for itself in practice. Anytime that I go out there, my turn is faster than it's ever been. And the times that come up, I'm really pleased with. So I'm not too worried. I'm just taking it round by round, and I'm just going to make it faster and faster.
All right, Noah, thanks.
Thank you.
And you could see Noah Lyles just ease up towards the end of that opening heat of the men's 200 metres. Hi, folks. Lee Diffie along with Olympians Kara Goucher, Addo Bolden, Sonia Richards-Ross. We're ready to go here on day 6. Addo, I want to kick it off with you first. We're going to see some semi-finals action. Obviously, this is heats of the men's 200. We'll see men's 400-metre hurdles. We'll also see Allyson Felix run again in the women's 200.
Yes, Allyson Felix already on her 5th Olympic team, but at 400, but she wants options. She's going to run the 200 as well and attempt to make that team. Now, she cannot do the double in Tokyo. The schedule will not permit it. So if she makes the 200 team, she will have to pick one or the other. And then, as you said, Rai Benjamin in those 400-meter hurdles for men. He's the world leader. He is undefeated this year. He had some hiccups early in his heat, but we will see him in the semifinals this evening.
And Son, mainly because of the results in Rio in 2016 and also the World Championships in 2019, an eagerly anticipated race is the women's 400-meter hurdles.
I cannot wait for this one. You're right. Every time Sydney McLaughlin and Dalila Muhammad meet up, it is magical. They'll both be kicking off tonight in the prelim rounds. Sydney has had a picture-perfect start to her season. Dalila has had some injuries, but the goal will be to head to Tokyo. We're also going to see the young superstar, Athing Mu, at 800 meters. She looked like she was out for a simple saunter yesterday in the prelim rounds, but we're so excited to see what she will do as she continues to progress in the women's 800.
And if you were with us a few days ago, as Kara will attest to, the heats in the men's 3,000-meter steeplechase was crazy. People were falling in the water jump, losing spikes, falling over. We get to have the final today to determine which 3 gentlemen go to the Olympics.
Yes, it'll be an exciting final led by the 2019 U.S. champion Hillary Bohr, who is a 2016 Rio Olympian, but he faces challenges in all new fresh faces, led by Isaac Updike, a native of Ketchikan, Alaska.
So if the heats are anything to go by, we can't wait for the final, and that will be our last event on this program tonight, live here on NBCSN. We're going to continue with the men's 200 meters and the second heat ready to roll. So there's 4 heats in total, and the top 3 in each heat, and then the next 4 fastest overall go to the semis. Here is Isaiah Young in lane 5.
Now 31 years old, hoping to make his second Olympic team after 9 years. He competed in 2012. He's been on a couple world championship teams, but really hasn't shown the kind of form that he's had in the past. Doesn't even have the Olympic standard yet, Otto. So he'll really need to show up here to have a chance at making this team.
Here's Bednarek in lane 8. He already tried his hand at the 100, finishing 4th. That means he may have a spot on the 4x1. He'll certainly be in the relay pool, but this is his better event, and he's the second fastest in the world so far this year.
Noah Lyles' younger brother, Josephus, is in lane 7. There he is.
Often mistaken for twins. They're a year apart. Come from a family of runners. His mom and dad both competed at Seton Hall, and their mom, Keisha Kane Bishop, actually manages both the boys. I can imagine what it's like for her in the stands every year watching both of them compete.
Isaiah Young in the middle of your screen in 5. There he is. Keep an eye on him.
Bednarek second from the outside, always conservative in the turn, but he has a great finish, and he has a little bit of work to do now.
Josephus Lyles is coming on strong. Here comes Kenny Bednarek in that headband. Bednarek and Young. Kenny Bednarek will go through. Isaiah Young, 20.20. And Josephus Lyles also goes through to the semifinals.
A big season's best for Isaiah Young, which is what he needed to be able to really progress through these rounds. And he looked strong, but I really liked the way Bednarek ran that round. He was very conservative on the turn, much like Fred Curley, but didn't give up too much and looked to be really in control of the final 100 meters. And you want to conserve as much energy as possible because the rounds only get tougher and tougher.
Yeah, you see Bednarek content to let somebody else, and in this case, Young, lead off the turn. And then, as Sonia said, that's somebody who is way off the gas and just doing as much as he has to safely be in the top 3. The top 3 qualify automatically. He's done that. And we love the fact that he wears that headband, makes him easy to spot. Kung Fu Kenny.
Kung Fu Kenny, he likes to have some fun with that. The Q on the graphic there designates that they're off to the semi-finals. By the way, Isaiah Young did meet the Olympic standard, which is good news for him. The Olympic standard is 20.24, and the top 2 athletes in that race meeting that Olympic standard there. You heard Sonia talk before about the teenager, Athing Mu. She is one of the fastest in the world. You'll see her run in the women. And you need to be in the top 3 if you want to guarantee your spot automatically into the semi-finals. Let's talk about who's in lane 5. It's the 22-year-old from Pennsylvania, Terrence Laird.
Just coming off his senior season at LSU. And what a season it was. He was NCAA champion at 100 and second in the 200, but opted to not run the 100 here to focus on the 200. His coach says he's really special. He tells me that he focuses on the 3 H's, being humble, hungry, and healthy, and he feels like that's what has allowed him to be successful.
And then to the outside is a high schooler, just 17 years of age, Jalen Slade from the IMG Academy in Bradenton, Florida. Now, because he did not turn pro, unlike Knighton, who we saw run 20.04 to win the heat prior, he has a shot at Noah Lyles' 20.0 high school record. He's already broken Noah's indoor high school record with 20.262. Excuse me.
So Harris in 3, Flournoy in 4, Booker and Miller. The 7th lane is open. Cravon Gillespie was a late scratching.
So I've been watching Laird for the entire season. Watched him win the NCAA's indoor, and then watched him pull a surprise win in the 100. This is his better event, and as you said, Sonia, smart.
Yeah.
Staying out of the 100 here and focusing on the 200. He's going to have his hands full with this high schooler, Jalen Slade. The way Laird runs, very, very conservative on the turn, and he runs the final 100 as good as anybody else in the country. Slade will run a little bit more evenly.
Slade all in blue right there, center of your screen. Terrence Laird on the inside of him.
Look on the outside. That's Booker, second from the outside, who's run the best turn. He'll come off with the lead, but watch what Laird will do now.
Terrence Laird, center of your screen, all in black. He's going with Jordan Booker. Booker's close, and Jalen Slade has been left behind. It is Terrence Laird in a 20.45 for his heat to automatically qualify for the semis.
And that was a dramatic look over to see that he was cleared and that he was able to back off a bit. But Terrence Laird, a true talent, someone to watch out for as he progresses through these rounds. I actually thought he would be a baseball player. Said his best friend went to the Dodgers in 2016, and it wasn't until 2017 that he actually ran his first track and field race and fell in love with the sport. What he thinks has really helped him was when he first went to Penn State, he ran a lot of 400s and 500s, and then went to a JUCO where he ran 19.6 windy, and at LSU been doing a lot of sprint work. So he feels like that combination of the 400 training and now the sprinting has made the 200 his perfect event. And he looked comfortable in the first round. He has a lot of races in his legs, Otto, from the NCAAs. He ran the 100, 200, and the 4x1. So I think it was really smart for him to just focus here on the 200, rest his legs up, and just continue to compete well. He knows how to do that, and he'll need all of that to make this team.
Very surprised that the high schooler did not perform better, but you know, inexperience on a big stage sometimes can cause that.
And on a positive, Jordan Booker not only automatically qualifies, but that is Booker's personal best at a 20.49 over Flournoy in third. So they're the 3 automatic qualifiers coming out of Heat 3 in the men's 200. One more come to see who makes the semi-finals. Though here in the Pacific Northwest for day 6 of competition, and we are set for the 4th and final heat of the men's 200 meters. Top 3 automatically go through, and then the next 4 fastest overall times. Semi-final is tomorrow. LaShawn Merritt,
Olympic champ at 400 meters, turns 35 on Sunday, made it to the semifinals here at 400 meters, and says he's here and just wants to keep on giving his best effort. So we'll see what he has in the tank at 200 meters.
We've seen something special from another 35-year-old, right, in Allyson Felix at these trials. Who knows?
And this is Matthew Boland. So I lived in Texas when, in 2019, he ran a windy 10:20 at the Texas Relays. And everybody's calling me like, is Usain Bolt in trouble? I'm like, not yet, guys. But he definitely has a ton of potential and has been running really well for Georgia.
Lance Lang, unfortunately, did not make it to this heat, so that's why there is an open lane 5. But Kyrie King is inside LaShawn Merritt, right there in lane 3. Andrew Hudson is in 6. And Collins in 8. And then there's EJ, Edric Florial Jr.
He's the coach's son. In fact, his father's already put Kenny Harrison and Jenna Prandini onto the Olympic team, but he was a reluctant newcomer to track and field. He started at basketball, walked on at Kentucky. Here's a video of him dunking on Julius Randle, who now plays for the New York Knicks. So I talked to both his father and his mom. They are so happy. Like, our son finally came home to track and field. His mother is a silver medalist from the '92 Olympic Games, and his father competed for Canada in the '88 and '92 Olympics and is now one of the top coaches in the world, including the director of track and field at the University of Texas.
Did you say walk on at Kentucky?
Walked on at Kentucky. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah.
Here's Matthew Bowling.
Also ran a windy 9.9 in high school. That's what really got him to go viral. He can do the 1, the 2, the 4, and the long jump. This is LaShawn Merritt in 4.
So Florial out wide, all in green, bowling in black there in the University of Georgia colors, and LaShawn Merritt second from the right.
There's a lot of races in Matthew Bowling's legs, and he's already pressing hard. You see Hudson to the inside, and on the far inside, that's Kyrie King for a second, but now Hudson.
Hudson looks around, LaShawn Merritt makes it. He's going to the semifinals, but it's Hudson with the win over Bowling in a 20-40 for Andrew Hudson, the 24-year-old from Texas.
And Andrew Hudson ran the best turn by far. He's a 2019 Big 12 champion for Texas Tech. Really close to sub 20 for a personal best.
LaShawn Merritt was in such a hurry to get off the track. He almost ran right over Hudson. So there's Hudson, identified there in the middle of the track. Ran a good turn. You see Kyrie King on the far inside trying to come up, but that challenge wouldn't last long, and Hudson starts to back off. Looks around at Bowling and company. Look at LaShawn Merritt come up just at the very end. But I want you to keep watching, because you'll see LaShawn Merritt almost run right in. Oh, look, watch this. Uh-oh. I'm trying to get out of here.
That reminds me of the Golden Games at Mount Sac when DK Metcalf ran into the inside.
Except he almost knocked that guy in the next week. He's a much bigger body.
So well done to Andrew Hudson. He goes through, so too does Matthew Bowling and LaShawn Merritt. And I can tell you that Kyrie King, although Kyrie got 4th with that 20.63, that is good enough to get him through to the semi-finals on Saturday, tomorrow, here at Haywood Field. So here are some of the key qualifiers in the men's 200. World champion Noah Lyles, of course, has made it. But it was a nice run too from Fred Curley, Terrence Laird, Arian Knighton, some of the younger runners who have been featuring. Let's get a field update as we say hi to Paul Swangard.
Hello to you, Lee. We've got men's discus final coming up later, but we also have qualifying in several events, including the long jump on the men's side. Reigning Olympic champion Jeff Henderson, the Almont, Arkansas native, made quick work of the qualifying round, well behind the board when he launches into his effort. 26 feet 3 3/4 of an inch. He moves on. But we are keeping an eye on Javon Harrison. A busy day. He's competing in both the long jump and the high jump, trying to make the U.S. team in both of those events. NCAAs here in Eugene 2 weeks ago in both of those events. And after fouling on his first attempt, finally found the rhythm and gets himself into the final 26.5.5. He jumped at 1:42 p.m. that second effort. And now getting prepared for that high jump. jumping to begin at 3 o'clock local time. Lee?
Good stuff, Paul. We look forward to seeing that. We also look forward to seeing hurdles world champion Grant Holloway. There he is. He has been so eager to get on track. He's been waiting days. Well, his time is not too far away. Men's hurdles when we come back.
Javelin, Maggie Malone was a 2016 Olympian. In the same year, she won the NCAA title for Texas A&M. Needed only one throw to get into the final. 195 feet 7 inches. That was the best throw in qualifying today. She's now the American record holder. The previous American record holder is Kara Winger. Three-time Olympian says this is her last team to make, and she looks like she's in good form heading into the final. Her only toss today, 192 feet 10 inches. As the qualifiers now move on to the final, there'll be 12 women moving on to the final this week.
What a throw from Maggie Malone, 195 plus feet. So from men's 200 to men's 110 meter hurdles. And this is the first of 4 heats. Let's break down this event a little more and give you some details about the men's 110 hurdles. They have to leap 10 of those hurdles that are 3.5 feet high. So in kind of everyday terms, it's the average height of a kitchen counter. You got to do it as fast as you can, over 110 meters, 10 times, and try and beat everybody else.
Yeah, and if you are leaping over them, you're probably doing it wrong.
You got to glide over them.
You want to get right back down to your power source, which is the track, and the world champion right on cue shows you exactly how that's done. He broke the indoor world record at 60-meter hurdles earlier this year. He is undefeated this year and second fastest in the world. We just saw a Virginia legend, LaShawn Merritt, advance to the 200-meter semifinals. Well, this guy, Grant Holloway, is also from Virginia, and he's making his case to be a Virginia legend as well.
Addo, Sonia and I spoke with Grant about 4 days ago now, and 4 days ago he was bored. He was like, just come on, I'm ready to race now. I don't know what to do with myself.
Listen, I don't know what you guys are talking about. We have to deal with that in Tokyo, right? We have swimming first and gymnastics, and then track and field is the anchor. When you're the anchor, you have to be patient. You cannot leave before the baton is handed to you. So yeah, I know about having to wait, because we wait for the track and field to start at the end of the Olympics.
And I'm telling you, it is tough when you have to sit around and you're seeing your teammates make the team, especially when you're as ready as Grant Holloway is. Like you said, Lee, he was bursting at the seams, like, when is it going to be my time? And it's his time now.
Pretty cool getting introduced as a world champion. So Holloway up against these hopefuls to be in the top 3 to advance to the semis, which are tomorrow.
Here's Aaron Mallett. The last time he was at the Olympic trials, he didn't make it out of the heats, but he did get 7th at the U.S. Championships in 2019. He's the reigning U.S. indoor champion at the indoor version of this event, the 60-meter hurdles.
So Price in 1, Elliott, Patterson, then Holloway and Mallett alongside each other. Charles, Henderson, and then Britt out wide in lane 8.
And of course, when you have 42-inch barriers, a lot can go wrong. We saw the U.S. champion Daniel Roberts, who was Grant Holloway's chief rival in college, not survive the first round of the World Championships in Doha. So it requires speed, but it also requires great precision to be a great 110 hurdler.
When we came on the air, by the way, it was 88 degrees. It's now 91. It's a warm day here in Oregon. Grant Holloway, the world champ, with those bright yellow shoes, gets off to a terrific start and is leaving the field behind. Take a look at the time. Holloway is flying to the line in a 13:12 for Grant Holloway.
He's not ready for the first round. He's ready for the final with that. Are you kidding me? He just demolished that entire first round field and ran a time that's 3 people have run faster than for the entire year. Yeah, he's ready for the final now. I guess he took his frustration of having to wait on that first round race. Jeez.
To put it into perspective, the Olympic standard just to qualify is 13:32, and Grant just ran a 13:11.
That's nuts.
What we do?
He says, what did we do? He did a 13:11.
So this is basically if wire to wire was a person. Let's watch Grant Holloway forward from your right. Bottom left, you'll see his speed. He's almost at 20 miles an hour. He is just in exceptional form right now. And kind of the way that we started the 100-meter rounds with Sha'Carri Richardson saying, okay, so they're running for the other 2 spots. The rest of America is running for the other 2 spots. 3 people are not beating the form that Grant Holloway is in right now. That was pretty spectacular. And you see him, does he look like that's a first round? It looks like that's a final pose.
He is just pleased to be running and competing. Jamal Britt and Aaron Mallett go through as the auto qualifiers. Here's Lewis Johnson.
What are you doing? So much for COVID protocols, I guess. Grant's in game playing mode, but you're not game playing out there.
Oh man, I'm just happy to be here. Just trying to engage in the party. I didn't come to the party to sit on the wall. I came to the party to dance. So, biggest thing is come out here, execute, have some fun while doing it.
What's it like to have to wait until the second half of these Olympic trials?
It's horrible. You know, you watch the 100s, you watch the 4s, the field events, and then it's like, okay, you're on next Friday, Grant. It's like, all right. So the main thing is come out here, be light on your feet, be happy, and just continue to execute each round.
All right, we look forward to the next one.
Can't wait, guys.
You gonna take a lap?
No.
Not that he can't run the 400-meter hurdles, because he can.
Wonderful, positive spirit and energy. And boy, did he execute. Look at this. Just gliding over those hurdles. And having some fun with our Lewis Johnson. He's happy to be at the track. And glad.
Champion this year, but he also made the final at both the 2018 and 2019 U.S. championships. So he's used to having a collegiate season and then coming and mixing it up with the pros.
For those of you just joining us, world champion Grant Holloway has just run, and he laid down a 13:11 for his opening heat in a phenomenal run.
Yeah, that's a time that himself and only 2 other people in the world have bettered this year. But now we focus our attention on Daniel Roberts in lane 1, the defending U.S. champion from 2019.
Let's see how that 2019 champ gets out of the blocks. Pretty good. Trey Cunningham's going with him, though, in those Florida State colors. It's Cunningham, the 22-year-old who leads. Here comes Daniel Roberts. Now it's close. Roberts edges ahead, or does he? That was a tight finish.
Yep, I think Roberts got there just ahead of the collegian Cunningham, but both of them automatically through. 13:22 for Roberts, Cunningham just behind in 13:23. The third automatic qualifier will be Isaiah Moore. But when you compare this run by Roberts to Grant Holloway, he was working a lot harder. You see him on the right. Cunningham actually controlled the race for most of this 110 meters. But just at the end, Roberts got a little daylight between himself and the collegian. There's that sliver of daylight. There was only 100th between them at the finish line. But both of them through. Roberts' season's best is about 2/10 under his personal best. So he's going to be trying to improve. But Cunningham is thrilled with his personal, just at his personal, but yeah, personal best, 13:23 for Cunningham.
And all that shouting and cheering you could hear going into the tunnel was Trey Cunningham. He was delighted with that. The 22-year-old from Alabama is through to the semi-finals. And lanes 1, 2, and 3 positions 1, 2, and 3. Daniel Roberts, Trey Cunningham, Isaiah Moore through to the semis.
Can get up there.
That was awesome. Very cool. We're going to be doing jumping of a different kind here in the third heat of the men's 110-meter hurdles. In this race, you will see 2016 Olympian Devin Allen. He was a two-sport athlete here at Oregon, and beneath where we are sitting in our broadcast booth, on the stairs that we climb each and every day, there is that image of Devin. This place, this new Hayward Field, is just a shrine to the University of Oregon, the athletes and the special people like Coach Bill Bowerman who have come in years past and what they've done for this place.
Devin was the only American to make the Olympic final in Rio. This is an event that is usually owned by Americans, so when Grant Holloway and Daniel Roberts showed up, American fans said, okay, we're back on track. He finished 5th in that final.
There's the full field. Who else have you got your eyes on, Addo?
Freddie Crittenden out in lane 6, who was 4th in this event at the 2019 U.S. Championships. He was out-leaned by Devin Allen to make that team. So these two very familiar with each other. He went to Syracuse, and he competed at the 2016 Olympic trials where he made it as far as the semifinals. There's Michael Dixon. He'll be in lane 2. He made the team to Doha.
And finished top 5 there. Devin Allen third from the right. He's got Michael Dixon on the inside, who was top 5 at those national championships. Here comes Freddie Crittenden. It's Devin Allen, Michael Dixon, and then Freddie Crittenden. Devin Allen gets there in Heat 3, 13:26. That was a good close race between Devin Allen, Michael Dixon to his inside. Yeah, Devin's pumped.
And when your image is all over the building, you better be performing. And in fact, we have remarked that all the Oregon Ducks sort of get a lift from the crowd. We saw Jenna Prandini do well in the women's 100. And look how perfectly timed that lean was by Devin Allen to get the better of Michael Dixon to his left. So here's another look at Devin Allen's first run down this straightaway. And he had company from Michael Dixon the entire way. The two of them very close in terms of season's best in 2021. And it took almost a max effort by Devin Allen to hold off Dixon. But those two, as well as Freddie Crittenden, are automatically qualified through to the 110 hurdle semifinals. A little shadow boxing.
Confirmation of those results, 13:26, the winning time. That's how close it was. It goes beyond the 100th of a second between Devin Allen and Michael Dixon. Freddie Crittenden goes through. Let's check in one more time with Paul.
Yeah, Lee, one more storyline from the men's qualifying in the long jump. Jarian Lawson out of Texarkana, Texas. You know, he reached collegiate legend status back in 2016 when he won the NCAA 100, 200, and long jump titles in the same meet. The first to do it since Jesse Owens did it back in 1936. He would then go on to make the U.S. team at the Olympic trials in Rio, but missed the podium by less than 2 inches, finishing in 4th. And then his career took a turn when he was provisionally suspended for a failed drug test. He would spend the next 19 months appealing the suspension until the Court of Arbitration of Sport overturned his ban in March of 2020, allowing him to return to competition. It was in that circumstance that he came down the runway for his third and final jump in qualifying, and after fouling on his first 2 attempts, he only get 3 in qualifying. He comes up big. Best jump of the day, 26.7 3/4. He will have a spot in the long jump final. Another man who qualified in that long jump final, Javon Harrison of LSU. Now warming up for his second qualifying in the men's high jump. That jumping starts in a moment.
Good stuff. Thanks, Paul. Fourth and final heat of the men's 110-meter hurdles coming up. Women's 800-meter semis aren't far away, where you'll see the likes of Ajay Wilson and Athing Mo run. But first up, this fourth and final heat, and again looking for the top three. Here is Jarrett Eaton. He starts in lane 6.
And he is so much better at the indoor version, the 60-meter hurdles, where he was a 2-time U.S. indoor champion. Also was the NCAA indoor champion back in his Syracuse days. Trying to make his first Olympic team. He was 6th 5 years ago at the 2016 Olympic trials.
Addo, speaking of NCAA championships, the 2021 NCAA 110-meter hurdles champion Robert Dunning was meant to be running in this, and we just got handed a note a moment ago that he will not fill lane 8. We're unsure as to the reason why the recently crowned NCAA champ won't make this heat.
In lane 1.
So Trey Holloway in lane 1, and that is the brother of Grant Holloway, who we saw run that 13:11 in the opening heat, the world champion. This is his brother. Ty Brown is alongside him. Luke Seidhoff in lane 3, Sam Brixey in 4, then Nicholas Anderson in lane 5. We've already shown you Jarrett Eaton.
And Jarrett at 32 is probably running out of chances to finally make that team, and he will know that, because with all the young talent coming up underneath him, Roberts and Holloway, and even Devin Allen is younger, and he's got to get it done.
Starting alongside him, Addo, is Jalen McConaughey of Illinois in lane 7. There he is.
The Big Ten champion, currently number 7 in the world from the University of Iowa, Jalen McConaughey.
So there's your field in this final heat of the men's 110-meter hurdles. Who gets that automatic qualifier? Who's going to be in the top 3 to go through? Tomorrow it's semis and final day in this event.
I'm going to look to see how Jarrett Eaton manages the last 5 hurdles. We know from his indoor prowess how good he is on the first 5. And you'd be surprised how many hurdlers talk about working on their last 5, including the world champion Grant Holloway. When he broke that indoor world record, he said, yeah, we know I can run the first 5. If I want to have any chance at being Olympic champion, the world record holder eventually outdoors, I have to get the final 5 right. That's the case for lane 6, Jarrett Eaton.
False start, they're going to get caught back.
First false start of the day. When there's a false start in the hurdles, it takes a while, because you have to pick up all of those barriers and then walk back.
Did you see anything that was glaringly obvious?
No, but I haven't seen anything all weekend.
Well, we had a lot in the first 4 days of competition, didn't
Right.
we? Anything from the sprints to the distance events, strangely enough. Let's have another look.
There's another look. No. I mean, those guys were... But remember, those pads are pressure sensitive. We're going to look at Trey Holloway 092. But we are shown a green flag, which means there is no false start charge. You see that 092 at the top there? If the reaction time by any athlete to the sound of the gun is quicker than 0.1 of a second, there is grounds for them to be disqualified. But I really thought that everybody was holding still there, but it may be, and I've said this week, that the starter heard that tone in his ear. And some starters will ignore it if they didn't see it visually. Other starters, as long as they hear the tone, they're going to shoot the gun again and just tell everybody to hold and come up, even if they didn't see it visually. And I think that's what happened there to young Trey Holloway. The fastest time in the world in this event is Omar McLeod of Jamaica, who is the reigning Olympic champion, 13:01. Then there's Grant Holloway at 13:07.
And again.
You know what? I think it's Holloway again. He's not holding steady at set. Now I'm looking at him, and he's just not. We'll see in the replay.
Does he know something that we don't know? It looks like it. The older brother of the world champion. Look to the far right, closest to camera.
I want you to look here. Watch him at set. Is he holding steady? I'm not sure. See, he's dropping back down, so he's coming up for set, and then
down.
And mind you, there are a lot of athletes that do that, but if you are registering pressure on that block, every single time the starter is going to hear that tone in his ear saying somebody is moving before a 1/10 of a second.
So is it a green flag or a green card?
You see?
Yep.
So now they're being told, gentlemen, come up and hold steady at set. They don't want to have to disqualify anybody, but they will. If your knees are moving at set, you're not holding steadily. You don't expect to see this at the Olympic trials. These guys are supposed to know better. You got to come up when you hear the set command and hold perfectly still. Those blocks are wired for pressure, and they will tell on you.
All right, third time lucky. Here we go. Final heat of the men's 110 hurdles. Again. Somebody has to go this time.
Well, this is a bit much. I wonder if they're going to reveal just who is setting off this alarm. Is it somebody else now that's doing it? You see the green flag up, so let's take a look again, see if we can see anybody moving again. Doesn't seem to be anybody moving any more than anybody else. Is it possible there's a malfunction with the blocks? Because it keeps pinging Trey Holloway. He did not react 0.08 of a second. I guarantee you that. Yeah, I think he may have a blocks there that they have to change. A pair of blocks. Blocks are wound a little too tightly. Either that or the starter just has to say, you know what, guys? He needs to call all his assistant starters and say, if you don't see it with your eyes, don't shoot a second gun. Let's just get this.
Let's get it going.
Let's get this heat going. Yeah.
No false start charged. Let's try it again here.
This is 3 times now with no false start charged, but with lane 1 giving a reading that's way below the threshold. So at this point, I think the technology is getting in the way. Everybody needs to just watch these gentlemen. If you don't see it with your eyes, do not shoot a second gun. Simple as that. Remember, this is also a heat. It's not like, you know, it's a final and everything's riding on this.
Fifth false start, 5th callback. What is this now doing to these athletes?
Oh, this is, I have lived through this. Paris 2003, I'll never forget it. It probably took us 15 starts to get going. It drains you because now you've pushed out of the blocks 4 or 5 times, and it's hot.
It's over 90 degrees here in Eugene.
Poor Trey Holloway is like, oh my gosh. I'm from Florida, but even this is ridiculous. He's actually from Virginia. Still hot. The technology is getting in the way of good sense. Here's another look. Look at lane 2. No, everybody's, that's who I had my eye on. Everybody seems to be okay.
We've had 3 other heats in the men's 110.
Flawless.
Flawless. Why here, why now?
Meanwhile, the women's 800 is waiting to come up. They're like, oh, come on. You're getting into our time now. Well, I've suggested what the fix is. If you don't see it visually, do not shoot the second gun. So we're hearing now that lane 4, Sam Brixey is out. Yep. They finally got somebody.
23-year-old from Boise, Idaho.
He is not happy. I wouldn't be either. So let's take a look at Brixey here. That is not a lot of movement. Just at the top of your screen. Yep. A little flinch. That's what put paid to Aaliyah Hobbs' chances in that semifinal in the 100. Yeah, he flinched. There's no question he flinched. But I think they figured, look, at this point, we have to make an example of somebody, otherwise we're going to be here all day. So tough break for Brixey. He was 5th at the Pac-12 championships, but his trials are over.
Ready to do it for a 6th time?
Sure.
Finally, a clean start in the final heat of the men's 110 hurdles. Out wide, Jalen McConaughey is leading Jarrett Eden. Eden's now coming on in that white top, but it's McConaughey. Eden, and on the inside, Ty Brown. 13:35 for the 22-year-old from Illinois.
He's just finishing up a redshirt senior season at Iowa. 2nd at the NCAA championship, so he knows how to compete well on this surface. And after all that it took to get this race started, give some credit to the youngster for keeping his composure and his nerve, because this was a wire-to-wire win, and he looked pretty comfortable doing it. His personal best is 13:23. This is not too far off of that, and you see him sort of celebrating getting that win.
So the auto qualifiers are Jalen McConaughey, Jarrett Eaton, and Ty Brown, just like that. Through to the semifinals tomorrow, and the final of the men's 110 hurdles will be tomorrow as well. You'll see that live on NBC Sports. Key qualifiers: the world champ Grant Holloway, the US champ of 2019. And now we move into women's 800-meter semifinals, where you'll see the 19-year-old Athing Mu run for a shot at the final and a shot to go to Tokyo. For the women's 800-meter final on Sunday. Hayward Field hosting its biggest meet yet, and will host the Track and Field World Championships in 2022. But we're all about forming the team for Team USA on this road to Tokyo. And up next, it's the men's 400-meter hurdles, the semi-finals, where the top 3 in each semi go through. But we do need to update you on something that went down yesterday, because one athlete who won his heat, who will not take part in the semi-finals, is Amir Latin. Addo, tell us why.
Look at his left foot, clearly on that white line, which signifies the inside lane, and the officials saw it and disqualified him. So he would eventually recover from this deficit and go on to win his heat. So his misfortune equals fortune for the Big Sky Conference champion, Drake Schneider of Montana State.
It's worth saying that that decision involving Amir Latin wasn't made until last night. His team, his representatives, appealed that decision, but obviously it has not gone their way. And as Addo just mentioned, that's why Drake Schneider, the 22-year-old from Wisconsin, is in lane 9. Here's TJ Holmes.
5th at the World Championships in 2017 and 2019. An All-American while at Florida. I trained with this young man when he was at Baylor, And I can tell you he's extremely disciplined and motivated. He actually coaches himself now, Otto, which we talked about yesterday. What a feat that is for him to be running so well.
And you explain it's because he's a videographer, so he has all the equipment to be able to film himself. Here's Kenny Selman, the 2018 U.S. champion in this event. He won his heat and, in fact, had the fastest time in qualifying last evening.
Quavell Jordan, CJ Allen, lanes 2 and 3. And then Khalifa Rosser is in lane 4. Keep an eye on Rosser as well. And out in lane 8, on the outside of Caleb Dean, is Isaiah Livingston.
He was second at the NCAA's to Sean Burrell, who actually fell in the first round, NCAA champion, not making it through to the semifinals. He played basketball and volleyball as a kid, but comes from a running family. His mom, his dad, his sisters, and he used to set up chairs in his backyard to practice the hurdle. So been preparing for this moment for a long time.
First semi men's 400 hurdles. That is Kenny Selman right there with the orange shoes, black outfit, off to a good start.
Yeah, but Caleb Dean to their outside in lane 7 has gone out the best through the first hurdle. Look also at Rosser in 4.
And you'll see these men keeping better pace in the semi. They try to take between 13 to 15 strides when they're running at their fastest. In the prelim, we saw some of the athletes struggling with that. But here, no stutter stepping. Everybody, business as usual.
Rosser and Selman.
Khalifa Rosser all in orange, that white headband on the inside as he takes the turn in the lead. It's going to be these two guys down the home stretch. Khalifa Rosser, Kenny Selman. It's going to be tight for that third spot. Isaiah Livingston, he'll get there. Top 3 through to the final.
And that's a season's best for Kenny Selman. Rosser wasn't too far behind.
So 48.51 for Kenny Selman. Khalifa Rosser, Isaiah Livingston are the 3 who advance.
And here you see Rosser and Selman. And Rosser, who actually had the lead at this point, and Selman really able to go back to his arms and get over that final hurdle. I'm surprised that TJ Holmes wasn't in the mix. He looked really good yesterday, but really way back off the pace down the final 100 meters. But Kenny Selman and Rosser really executing this semi like a final. They looked really good, and they needed every bit of that to be able to, one, get a season's best today and make it through to a very, very, very competitive final tomorrow.
The results reflect who finished where. Selman, Rosser, Livingston go straight through. Now CJ Allen and Caleb Dean will be on that bubble as far as being the next 2 fastest to go through to the final. World Championship silver medalist Rai Benjamin, one of the best.
Bar, as is Shelby McCune. We saw him dunking earlier. Does a pretty good job flying over the bar as well. The second height of the day is upcoming. Javon Harrison takes a yawn and a short nap after qualifying in the long jump. He's now waiting to jump at height number 2. Lee?
Everyone's just looking for a little bit of shade, trying to stay cool on this very warm day here in the Pacific Northwest. So 1 semi down, 1 to go. Men's 400-meter hurdles, and everybody looking at Rai Benjamin in this to see what he can do, particularly in light of yesterday's heat where Sonia Renato immediately identified him doing some stutter steps. He was just out of his rhythm. Later on, he said, it was just too slow for me.
Yep, and we focus on this gentleman for a reason. The list of people who have run faster than the guy on your screen in history. Kevin Young, the world record holder, and the twice world champion from Norway, Karsten Warholm. That's it.
And behind him in lane 5, that's Cameron Samuel, who looked great in the prelims, won his heat. He's a Pac-12 champion, 3rd at NCAA's, behind Livingston, who's qualified for the final. So these NCAA athletes certainly have a chance to be in the final.
Charles Brockman, the 21-year-old, is right over there to the right-hand side, all in white in lane 9. David Kenziera, who really dug deep yesterday to make it to the semis. You'll see him start in lane 8. And then here is Jonathan Harvey in lane 7.
Coming off his senior season for the Oregon Ducks, and I think there can't be anything cooler than competing in your biggest meets on your home track. Like you said, Otto, it definitely lifts you up, and what a stadium to be able to compete in and to call your home track. This track is absolutely spectacular.
Good luck to all the college coaches recruiting against Oregon in the future, because you bring a recruit here, chances are they're going to sign. But Rai Benjamin, remember, he's already seen his training partner Michael Norman qualify in the 400 by winning here at the Olympic trials, and he gets to train with him every day, and we're told that in practice, Michael Norman has no idea how to pace anything. This is the guy doing the pacing. Let's see if he paces a little better today.
Rai Benjamin in lane 6 with that white headband on. Let's watch his rhythm today versus yesterday.
And he's off to a much better start. Like I always tell you, in the semifinals, your coach will tell you, run the first half of the 400 like the final. And then whatever you can take off in the final 200 meters, you do that. And this looks like Rai Benjamin in this semifinal.
What he's going to try to do here, Lee, is build this lead, as Sonia says, so that he can cruise home. And he's already built quite a lead. So that makes these last 3 hurdles a lot easier.
David Kenziera, all in black there, running in a solid and clear second. Cameron Samuel is coming on strong on the inside. Trevor Bassett is doing nicely. Aldrich Bailey. It's all Rai Benjamin who is just sauntering. Look at him. He's just jogging home.
Okay. Between hurdles 9 and 10, I swear he looked in the stands to see if his family was in there. I swear I saw it. He took a glance in the stands. That's how far ahead he was. He's not the world leader by accident, folks, and it's why we think that not only do we have a world record chance here, we don't know if anybody's going to push him to a world record, but when this event goes off in Tokyo, look at him shutting it down.
This is what we expected from Rai Benjamin. He is over a second and a half faster than the second person in this event. And in the semifinals, the prelims, he was kind of all over the place. But today, he's meant business. And like you say, Otto, I definitely saw him look up to the family and say, hey, guys, see you guys tomorrow.
And Sonia, you called it. He ran the first 200 as though it was the final. And then you could see him say, okay, I have built enough cushion. Let me completely back off. I'm into the final.
So through go Rai Benjamin, Cameron Samuel with that strong finish, and David Kenziera is that third automatic qualifier. Lewis?
Well, guys, I'll confirm. Rai says he was taking a quick peek to see if he could find his mom. Okay, there you go with that. So why was the step pattern so much better, so much more fluid today versus the last round?
Just talked to my coach, Coach Hayes. She just told me run to 3, and the pattern would come, so that's what I did today. So that's why it was a lot better. Still wanted to go a little faster, but it's a semifinal, so saving it for tomorrow.
Okay, and we'll see you then. Thanks, Rai. Okay, Lee?
Key thing that Rai Benjamin said in light of yesterday and big picture-wise for the trials, I'm not worried about times. They'll come. I want the qualification. I want to be an Olympian. And a return Olympian is what Sydney McLaughlin wants to be. She runs next. And that's better than sound. That was a beautiful picture of Silver Point, Oregon. It's about 3 hours from where we are here at Haywood Field. Next on track, it's the women's 400-meter hurdles. Now we just watched the semis for the men. We begin the heats, and there are 4 heats in total, looking for the top 3, and featuring in this first heat is World Championship silver medalist Sydney McLaughlin.
She trains every day with now 5-time Olympian Allison Felix. Her opener just under a month ago, 52.83, was the fastest in the history of the event. But think about being 19 years old, guys. the second fastest ever in the event, and you decide, you know what, second best ever is not good enough. She completely blew up her training situation and has now gone over and trained with Allison Felix under Bobby Kersee, the legendary coach formerly of UCLA.
And I got to spend some time with Sydney, and this is a young woman who just loves to run. Doesn't care so much about the fanfare. She really enjoys, and the fans appreciating her as well. Just really enjoys competing. And like you said, Otto, second best was not enough. The time that she ran was the second fastest, and the person that ran faster was in the race to beat her. Just a phenomenal performance there from a youngster, only 21, but a true superstar for Team USA.
And Lee, remember, she made the Olympic team at age 16, and then she turned 17 before the games, eliminated in the semifinal round.
What a race that was in Doha 2 years ago between Dalila Muhammad, you'll see Dalila soon, and this woman here, Sydney McLaughlin. She's got Kate Sorensen to her inside, Vanessa Watson to her outside.
And like Rai Benjamin, she has lots of flat speed, so you'll see her have to dial it back in these early rounds. Yeah, somebody in the crowd with an ill-timed yelp. But it gives me a chance to talk a little bit about Sydney McLaughlin's path to where we are now. You remember we saw her indoors, and sometimes her results were not always good. And people said, what is Bobby Kersee doing? Why is she running the 60-meter hurdles indoors? She did not look comfortable. Well, that continued until she started to set personal best outdoor at 100-meter hurdles, and then that fastest opener ever was because she is now comfortable. Whichever leg she has to lead with, she's comfortable, and that has changed the game. And it's why right now she's the favorite for the gold in Tokyo, especially with Dalila Muhammad having a little injury issue this year.
She's enjoyed training with Allison Felix. Allison's enjoyed training with her.
I bet. Don't tell me we're going to start this in the 400-meter hurdles now.
We better not. So you rarely see this in the 400s because for the most part, when we're in the blocks, we're waiting for the gun. It's not, this race isn't decided most of the times by who gets the best block start. And so for the most part, there's little focus on the blocks when it comes to 400-meter runners. It's more about really digging and driving that first 50 and really trying to set the pace for your race. So this will be a little bit frustrating. They've also held them for a long time, even in the set position or prior to the set position. So these athletes have been waiting for a long time to get on the track and to get their Olympic trials underway. So they certainly want to do that and not be on the track for prolonged periods of time before this race.
If you've just joined us earlier with the fourth and final heat in the men's 110-meter hurdles, it took 6 attempts to run that heat. That's what Addo was referring to a little earlier. Let's not do this again.
I hope we're not headed for 6 here.
May have noticed the green card displayed to the field, so.
And that's why I said I think the technology is getting in the way of common sense, because how can you have all these recalls and nobody's getting disqualified? Clearly these blocks are maybe a little too sensitive. This is a long time down in the blocks.
Oh, here we go.
Well, we're 1/3 of the way there.
This is not okay. Like you said, Otto, this is absolutely getting in the way of great competition.
And the fans are booing.
Lewis, what you got?
Okay, Lee, so let me jump in here. Going back to the men's 110-meter hurdles when we had the multiple false starts, I went down and spoke to someone, and they said all but one issue, all but one occurrence was an actual tone in the starter's ear, meaning that someone had either moved in the blocks early or had tried to make a move before they could legally do so. The other one was someone who did get disqualified. It is worth noting that there are multiple officials out here that once they say tell the one to get out of the blocks, they have to look to see where their hands are to make sure they're behind the line and that they are in the right position. And everyone has to be set before they will drop their hands to tell the starter it's okay to start. So lots of movement back and forth here. We'll see if they continue to have these issues.
Well, Sam Brixey was the athlete who was disqualified from the men's 110 hurdles, and now Shannon Meisberger has been spoken to as well about just stay steady in the blocks.
I don't agree with making the athletes adjust to the blocks. How about adjusting the blocks a little less sensitive to the athletes?
Something that's just not right.
Again, I will say it. The blocks are set too sensitive because nobody is moving. We can see it with our eyes, and yet they are shooting a second gun. This is what, the 10th recall we've had for the day?
Yeah.
At what point does somebody say, you know what, guys, let's just do it visually? Look at everybody's holding, waiting on the gun. There is no movement.
And this is difficult for a 400-meter runner because the push-out is one of the hardest phases of the race, and you're exerting so much energy. And these athletes, whether it be for 5 steps or 10 steps, this is frustrating. You could actually see finally on Sydney's face, who's usually poker face, really calm, even she is a bit annoyed at this point.
I know she's thinking, here's Dalilah. She's like, I know this is not happening now, and it better not happen to our heat.
It's infuriating. I've never seen this happen. Like we said, it happened earlier. We thought the problem was fixed, and this is not fair. It's really hot for these athletes out here on the track. The 400 is a really tough event to go out and be focused mentally and physically. And if she's the problem at this point, she needs to go. It's not fair to the other athletes to continue to have to go over and over again.
Yeah, what we cannot be doing at the Olympic trials is constantly warning the same person over and over. It's like we are way past the point of giving start and set lessons at this level of the sport. If you can't hold steady at set, then you got to go. It's simply not fair, as Sonia said, to everybody else in the field. But I maintain, I don't see anybody moving that much at set. The blocks are way too sensitive.
So, 4th attempt at Heat 1 in the women's 400 hurdles. Cross your fingers at home. Finally.
Well, PTSD, I was expecting another front.
And as expected, Sydney McLaughlin out really well to the first hurdle. She could run the 400 here, Otto. She's the only person in this field who would have had a real chance at making the team in both. And so this first round should be easy for her. She looks better than Rai Benjamin did in his first round. No stutter stepping, just looking really in control. And out in lane 8, the only way to run when you're out in lane 8 is to give it everything you have in the first part of this race. And so she's off to a great start as well.
That's Nenya Haley, who has led the majority of the way, but coming through the turn, Sydney McLaughlin. It's Haley and McLaughlin way ahead of the rest of the field. Sydney McLaughlin ran a 52.83 to get her season underway at 400-meter level. It won't be that quick here because she eases off and cruises through after 4 starts to get to the semi-final. which is tomorrow in the women's 400 hurdles.
And when I talked about Athing Mu and Allison Felix in the same breath as prodigies, the Sydney McLaughlin fans let me have it. She's also on that list. Those are the top 3 prodigies that we've seen in the last 20 years. Look at how comfortable she is now. Doesn't matter which leg it takes. Little stutter step for 10. But again, this is complete control. This is somebody ready for whatever comes at these trials.
So McLaughlin goes through in 54.07. Haley Ann Meisberger, who was the athlete in the spotlight with a couple of those starts that were called back. Shannon Meisberger goes through to the semi-finals. And Sydney McLaughlin pleased with that, although it took several attempts to get things going. She comes through successfully, Lewis Johnson.
All right, Sydney, just give us a sense of how challenging it was to deal with all the false starts.
It was a little difficult, but just had to show some grace and, just refocus. I'm not always going to be able to control what happens, but I can control how I deal with it.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Great words. Can't control what happens, but I can control how I deal with it, says Sydney McLaughlin, winner of the first heat in the women's 400 hurdles. There's that first box checked. Through to the semis. Still to come. Rio gold medalist, world champion.
The World Championships in 2015. She is among one of the most improved 400-meter hurdlers in the world this year. She's improved her flat speed.
For many years, it was really easy to identify Shamir because she had a big, colorful bow in her hair and glasses. She said, there's no more of that. It's a new sham.
That's right, and in front of her, Ashley Spencer, who was an Olympic bronze medalist in 2016, a part of that fantastic group that trains in Austin, Texas, under Tanja Buford-Bailey, who's also an Olympic bronze medalist in this event.
Four starts in the first heat. Now a clean start in this second heat.
And Shamir Little will be happy about that. She is second from the top of your screen. And she has so much speed this year, under 50 seconds for the very first time, that we feel very good about her chances here. She's on the outside with Spencer.
And Ashley Spencer looking good. She hasn't had the best start to her season, but she's a gamer. And she also is one of those athletes who's run 400s really well throughout her career. So this is a great start for her in their preliminary round.
And look at Dionka Bookman in lane 4, coming up in third. She's run her personal best this year as Shamir Little clearly goes into the lead now in this home stretch. And Bookman may have a chance to get up close to Ashley Spencer. No, she doesn't. Shamir Little in this second heat of the women's 400 wins comfortably over Ashley Spencer and the 25-year-old Dionka Bookman in third.
Great running for Shamir Little. This field, like we talk about it all the time, Team USA is just one of the toughest teams to make, especially in the sprints. Well, the 400 hurdle team is going to be really tough, and Shamir Little making her case for that second or third spot. I think Sydney McLaughlin will be the clear favorite, but the way Shamir Little handled this race, she looks so comfortable, looking up at the scoreboard, able to really back off. That was a great first round for her.
And Lee, this is a case of somebody who early in her career had great success, and then 2016 and 2017 were sort of down years. So she is definitely a resurgent individual, and it's why I think she's had such a great 2021 so far.
And still only 26 years old, Shamir Little. Automatic qualifier along with Ashley Spencer and Dionka Bookman going through to the semi-finals tomorrow in the women's 400 hurdles. You want to see the best in the world? You're about to. There she is. Dalila Muhammad is ready to run here at the trials. Oregon in the women's 400-meter hurdles. It is the prelims, the heats, and this is heat number 3. And in lane 7, Anna Cockrell.
2 weeks ago, she won the 100 hurdles and the 400 hurdles at the NCAA championships.
Who else is in this race? On the inside is Cassandra Tate. Britton Wilson is there. Hextall, Young, and Hoffman in lane 8. Lane 4 is open. Shea Anderson was meant to be there. Unfortunately, was a late withdrawal. Here's Cassandra Tate, lane 2.
A bronze medalist in 2015. She's been on world championship teams, but never made an Olympic team. In 2012 and 2016, she finished 5th. But a large part of the reason that Team USA has so much depth in this event is women like this who've been around for so long, who have been best in the world.
So Anna Cockrell in 7 pulled off the Queen double. That's the double name for Queen Clay, the only 2 individuals that have won the 100 hurdles and the 400-meter hurdles at the NCAAs. She was 5th in the 100 hurdles earlier this week. This is her better event. 2-time NCAA champion this event. Oh, now we're calling them up before the gun.
The question for Anna Cockrell will be, what does she have left in the tank? I would think that she wouldn't run the 100-meter hurdles here and really focus on the 400-meter hurdles because, like you said, this is her better event. She did the double at the NCAAs, but she is young, and she's an amazing talent. So I believe that she has an opportunity, but this team is hard to make.
Here's the Olympic and world champion, Dalilah Muhammad, waiting her turn.
Do you think Dalilah's ever had a wait like this?
Never.
Watching all those restarts.
Never. I can tell you, I've never seen it.
But your point about collegians as well made, Sonia, because not a lot of them have qualified for Tokyo. Feeling the effects of the NCAAs 2 weeks ago still. Certainly not in the sprints.
That NCAA champ Anna Cockrell right there, lane 7, all in black.
She's off to a fast start, but when you run the 100-meter hurdles, that's what you have. You have the ability to get out fast and then really just pace the rest of the race. And down in lane 2, Cassandra Tate, it's really tough when the field is so far out, when your main competition is 4 to 5 lanes over. It's really a challenge, but she's also keeping pace.
You remember that Anna Cockrell trains at USC, which means that Joanna Hayes, who is also part of Rai Benjamin's training staff, is who coaches her. She has a little bit of work to do because Cassandra Tate down in 2 has complete control of this heat.
It's Tate, then Cockrell, and it's going to be tight for 3rd. It looks like Milan Young is coming on to grab that 3rd, but Cassandra Tate will be the automatic qualifier with a win in 56.11 over Anna Cockrell. No problems there, and it was fairly close for 3rd, but I think it was Young who got that 3rd and final spot.
Impressive run for Cassandra Tate, but that's experience. It's really hard when you get lane 2 as your lane draw for the first round to be able to press the pace like she did through the first half of the race and actually come off with a cushion. I don't think Anna Cockrell was expecting to see Cassandra Tate so far out in front, and it wouldn't make sense for Anna Cockrell to push down the home stretch because she was clearly in 2nd, but that's a great run for Cassandra Tate.
Again, the semifinals in the women's 400 hurdles are tomorrow, and you will see Cassandra Tate, Anna Cockrell, Milan Young in there straight away with the automatic qualifications. So Olympic champion, world champion, and world record holder. That's New York's own Dalilah Muhammad. She's one of the best athletes to ever run the 400-meter hurdles. It's a world away from the Queens Community Center.
And her coaches say that she's actually ahead of pace. They thought this might be her first race back, but she's run 2 races, and every race she's gotten better and better. And you don't want to see that from the world champion, world record holder, because she's dangerous.
So her mom, Nadira, watching on. So she didn't bring the entire village. But I, too, grew up in Queens, and I know that when you're that age, nothing about those surroundings and running indoors with cones, you don't think Olympic champion one day, right? But that's exactly what it's turned into for Dalilah Muhammad, the fastest ever in this event. That world record, 52.16 2 years ago.
This is the 4th and final heat of the women's 400 hurdles.
You'll remember that she broke the world record twice in 2019 at the U.S. Nationals and then at the World Championships. Both times, Sydney McLaughlin was right behind her.
Dalilah Muhammad right there, lane 3.
And that looks like the Dalila of old. She's off to a blistering start. And we talk a lot about athletes, and we've talked a lot, especially this year, about mental toughness. This is one of the athletes, female athletes, that models that. She comes out here and she executes every round, every race, exactly like she's envisioned it in her mind. And I just love the way that she's looking in this first half of this 400-meter hurdle race.
The reason Dalila has the collection of medals and records that she has is she is not afraid to go out harder than anybody else, because she knows I am as fit as anybody else in the last half. Look at the lead that she has built. She's going to be able to cruise home just like Sydney McLaughlin.
Good run from Kayla Barber, and on her outside is Masai Russell. But then Kia Seymour is coming home very strong. Dalila Muhammad easily cruises across the line. Kia Seymour with a tremendous finish to grab second and an automatic qualifying position. Nadira is happy with her daughter's work there.
As well she should be. Remember what Sonia said. She had an injury this year that seemed at first to be so bad that they were saying that her first race of the year was going to likely be at the Olympic trials. She's already had 2 400-meter hurdle races already, 55 seconds, then 54. She comes here and looks like she has had no injury whatsoever this year. This is looking like somebody ready to go back and defend her Olympic title.
This makes me so happy, because this race is one of the most exciting races to watch, and she's a huge part of this event and what makes it so spectacular. So to see her back rounding into form, the matchup between her, Sydney McLaughlin, and Shamir Little will be in that mix as well, will be phenomenal.
And Mom has her sign.
Just in case we forgot. Mom's in the stands.
What does that give the viewers something to look forward to? What does that final look like between Dalila Muhammad and Sydney McLaughlin? Do they go all out?
The last 2 times they met, it resulted in a world record. I'm just saying.
Just saying. I was asking for a friend, by the way. Key qualifiers for the women's 400.
All right, Dalila, take us inside this third time you've run the 400 hurdles this year.
Oh, you know, I just wanted to kind of get out, set the race up, set my rhythm up, and just kind of do enough to just kind of make it home.
Yeah, we saw your mom here cheering for you. How much do you have her, the rest of your family, and Queens with you as you're competing?
Oh, man, it feels good. It feels good to just feel the support. Got so many text messages wishing me good luck before the race from Queens and my family, so I'm feeling good.
Alrighty, great. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much.
Lee?
Well done, Dalila Muhammad. Back on track, healthy and fast. So the best 2 in the world, Sydney McLaughlin, Dalila Muhammad. We'll see them run tomorrow in the semi-finals of the women's 400 hurdles. Up next, we're talking men's 1500 semis.
Field event update for you at Hayward Field. Men's high jump qualifying. It took only 3 jumps for John Harrison to qualify in 2 events. This was his only high jump of the day. Trying to become the first American man since Jim Thorpe in 1912 to compete in both the long jump and the high jump at the Olympic Games. He'll try to do that in the finals on Sunday. Meantime, our only final today is underway. The men's discus, Sam Mattis, who gave up a full-time job on Wall Street to pursue his dreams in the discus. This was his opening effort of the day, and so far that is the best effort of the day. 205 feet 1 inches as we're closing in on the end of round 3. We'll show more of that throwing later on.
Thanks, Paul. Good work, Sam. Quite the throw. As we welcome you back. Hey, talking about athletes keen to get going in competition, we welcome Kara Goucher back.
Thank you. I'm excited. Yes, let's do this.
Let's go. It's men's 1500-meter semi-finals. You want to talk about personality? Here is one. Yep, rocking the mo and the mullet. Craig Engels.
You know, Craig Engels, his coach Pete Julian says he's just a breath of fresh air. He has so much personality, and he brings it to the track every time he shows up. He's just a huge favorite in the running community. He drove down to Eugene in a special ride. You know, he renovates old small vans into traveling campers, and this is his ride that he rode down here from Portland down here to Eugene.
He is quite the dude. He is quite the dude, and he has the ability to go to the Olympics. So he is going to come up against, Craig Engels is going to come up against Yared Nuguse, the 22-year-old collegiate star who could spring a surprise here.
Yeah, Nuguse has been having an excellent season. He looks really relaxed. He looks so good in the rounds. And, you know, he believes that the strength-based program of Notre Dame is really going to set him up to do well here and progress as the rounds continue.
Look out for all in green, hit number 7, Vincent Ciatti.
Yeah, Ciatti's a former runner for Virginia Tech. Now he runs for the Oregon Track Club Elite right here in Eugene, Oregon. He has the hometown advantage, and he's also one of 3 men in this race who have the Olympic standard taken care of.
You saw Eric Avila there standing beside Craig Engels earlier. Here we go. First semi in the men's 1500. Top 5 in each semi will go through to Sunday's final. And Engels is pretty quick to go to the front straight away.
You know, yesterday they were all kind of just warming up, getting the kinks out, you know, getting through that first round. And I think this is when things start to get a little bit more serious. You can't make any major mistakes here in this semi. You have to make sure you run good and clean and get into that final round.
Sitting in the top 5, talking about collegians, sitting in the top 5 there is Jack Yerian, who is the 23-year-old who is coming off his senior year here at Oregon. Boy, he had a storming closing 150 meters to get himself into this semi.
He did. And, you know, his teammate at Oregon, Cole Hawker, said that he took that heat out and kept it fast because he wanted to make sure that Yerian got through. And so he had a great race, and here he is in the semi.
Isaac Yorks leads the way in that bright yellow top.
You know, Isaac Yorks is not afraid to lead. We saw him leading in some of the prelim as well. He's not afraid to get out there and push the pace and take control of the race.
Colby Alexander, Eric Holt in the black tops, running in 2nd and 3rd. Eric Avila is in the mix. Here it comes Yared Nuguse in that Notre Dame, that white top, green bottoms, right alongside Craig Engels.
You know, it's always sort of stressful watching the milers because they all believe they have the best kick of anyone in the race. So they're all kind of feeling it out here. This pace isn't super fast. It's not hot. They all feel like at this point they're all in contention. And that's why we see these really crazy last 500 meters, because that's when all the kicking begins. But Isaac Yorks is really controlling this race right now, and he looks pretty controlled out there.
Obviously, because of COVID restrictions and the global pandemic, there was no national championships last year. Last time there was, back in 2019, Isaac Yorks, who leads this race, qualified for the final in the men's 1500. And he's setting a good pace here.
Yeah, and Colby Alexander is just following there. He looks good too. Eric Holt there. I mean, everyone is just sort of biding their time, but they know that in the next 200 meters, you know, there is going to be a move made. And so they're all getting ready for that position and getting ready for when that move comes.
Look at Eric Avila trying to get through. He gets by Holt. He gave him a little tap before just to let him know that he was there. Craig Engels is boxed in blue and green in the Nike outfit right in the middle. He's going to have to position himself pretty sensibly here as they're coming to the bell lap.
Yeah, Engels is not in a great position, but remember, they still have over 400 meters to run, and he's very experienced. He ran at the World Championships in Doha. He was the U.S. champion in 2019. He's been here before. He's going to have to use some patience and work his way around and move up.
Hey, here comes the youngster, the 22-year-old Walid Suleiman goes to the lead, and he said, you know what? I've never lined up against people like this before. It was about time I raced the big dogs.
Oh, yeah, like he's just taking it. You know, he wants to be in through that final, and he's like, if you're all going to wait, then I'll take it and make it happen. So he's really striding in it now, and the pace is quickening here. We can see Nuguse and Engels realize they need to respond. This move is real.
Colby Alexander goes around Suleiman. Holt is in the mix. Yared Nuguse. Now here comes Craig Engels up behind Suleiman. But it's Alexander, Colby Alexander, the 30-year-old from Strongsville, Ohio, that leads the way in this semi-final. Top 5 get through. It's the automatic qualification. Engels is struggling. He's going to have to push through. He goes past Suleiman. Here comes Yared Nuguse. And in the end, it's going to be Craig Engels that gets the win. But that's tight. We've got some sorting out to do as to who gets the auto qualify, because there were about 3 or 4 right on the line there. Super close.
That was so close, and that's what I'm talking about. These milers, they all think they have the best kick in the field, and they do have tremendous kicks, but when it comes down to it, one person has to be first, and we only take the top 5 auto through here, so we'll have to watch that replay.
Craig Engels gets the win. He wasn't always in the best position. Watch him squeeze through here.
Yeah, he finds himself boxed in, coming off the home turn, which is the worst place to be in a mid-distance race, but he keeps calm. He sees a little movement there and sort of squeezes his way past Holt and to move up, and then once he was through and clear, and he could really stride out and take advantage of that room, but he had to find that room so that he could open up and charge home.
It was David Ribich on the inside, and Vincent Ciardi all in green. This is where it gets tight, and we now get the results through. Just watch as they come to the line there, how many were leaning and who was where. Engels gets the win, Yared Nuguse gets second, Colby Alexander third, Vincent Ciardi, and then David Ribich. So running down the rail right to the line, Ribich gets that 5th and final auto qualify. So Waleed Suleiman, who took the lead at the bell lap, he's going to have to rely on his time because it is the top 5 in each semi go through to the final, then the next 2 overall best times. And you're going to see Rio Olympic gold medalist in the 1500 Centro, Matthew Centrowitz. He runs next.
A great reception from the crowd here. Of course, he was an Oregon Duck. He comes here, his father was an Olympian in 1976. His father, who he's named after. He's had such a great career, picking up in 2011 with a world medal in the outdoor championships, global championships. And now he's struggled a little bit the last few years. He's gotten a little bit older and he's had some injuries. He's switched coaches, but he really seems to be rounding into form now when it matters, and you could never count him out. He's the best tactician in the world.
Kara mentioned his dad. That was Matt sitting in the stands. And Centro here on track has a tattoo when he made that Rio team, like father, like son, and ran all the way to get the gold. So he's the big name in the event. Here's a young man who's made his name at the University of Oregon and would like to make it on a larger scale. This is Cole Hocker, the 20-year-old from Indianapolis, Indiana.
Cole Hocker's had an unbelievable year at Oregon this year, winning 3 NCAA titles. And, he took that his heat yesterday and just controlled the whole thing. He said afterwards, I'm not afraid to run from in front. That's where I'm comfortable. That's how I do my best. He really feels like he's ready to land himself a spot on this Olympic team.
So he's been a collegiate star. This guy has been a high school standout, Hobbs Kessler. Expect him to run beyond his years here in the second semi.
Hobbs Kessler, he's never done rounds before, and when he was being interviewed yesterday after making it through in the prelim, he said it was a new experience. He didn't know what to expect, but he really handled the race with maturity. He sat in the back, he didn't do any other work, and then when they came around the bend for the home stretch, he just came right into position to qualify for the semi today.
Centrowitz goes right to the front. Cole Hocker is going with him. Sam Prakel is tucked in behind Centro. You see all in green at the back with the headband on. That's Ben Blankenship, Rio Olympian. Ben qualified on time. He thought he may not have done enough yesterday and was waving to the crowd almost like it was a farewell, but his time was actually good enough.
I read that he's only been running for 3 weeks last night. So he's obviously been coming off an injury. Oh, we see a stumble there. Everyone's bunched. We see pushing. But for Ben Blankenship to make it through and run that time after just a few weeks of training just shows you what a talent he is.
Johnny Gregorek is in the mix. You can see him with hip number 8. And Sam Prakel well positioned there. Number 1 on the inside, right in behind Matthew Centrowitz, and right alongside hip number 9, Cole Hocker.
We see Trip Hurt in the lead here. He controlled a little bit of the race yesterday as well. He's coming out here and he wants to push up at the front, stay out of any trouble, and work his way towards the final.
So 4th from the back with that yellow waistband is Hobbs Kessler, the 18-year-old from Ann Arbor, Michigan. Yesterday, it looked like he was in a precarious position, and this kid just rocketed home. Do you know, his coach says that he is a born racer. He said, I've seen many come and go. This kid is born to race.
He's definitely something special, and we've all been excited to watch him run here. He was asked at the press conference yesterday after his first round, experience versus youth, like who has the advantage? And he said, experience. I've never done this before. I don't have any experience here at all, but he's been handling it really well. He knows he's coached by the best, he trains with the best, and he just needs to keep a level head and do what he does best, which is compete.
Red and white outfit, the Rio gold medalist, Matthew Centrowitz, just ticking along at the front, doesn't look stressed. Right alongside Hurt, Maggott is there, and then Thompson. There's Johnny Gregorek in blue on the outside.
You know, they just ran a pretty slow lap, so that's why we're seeing everyone bunch and gather here. There's no way they can leave it for a slow last lap. They're all in contention now. They've all regrouped, and this is going to be a blistering last 400 as everyone shoots for their position over this final lap. And we see Josh Thompson work his way in here on the outside. He trains with Matthew Centrowitz as a part of the Bowerman Track Club, and they've been training together all spring.
Here comes Johnny Gregorek in blue, and Cole Hocker. There's the bell. One to go. Centrowitz, Gregorek, Hocker. The high school star is at the back. Hobbs Kessler's going to have to find a few extra gears.
Here we go. They're winding up now, and you know, we've seen Centrowitz here be in the front for most of the race. That's not typically how we see. He likes to come out and move around and find a way at the end, but he looks awfully in control here. He sees a challenge from Cole Hocker, and this is duck versus duck, the old versus the new.
The NCAA champ of this year in this event up against the reigning Olympic champion, and Johnny Gregorek has a shot as well. Top 5 go through. Where is Hobbs Kessler? He's at the back. He's going to have a phenomenal final 100 meters. Look at this. Oregon Star versus Oregon Star. And you know what? Centrowitz will say, go on, young fella. You can have it. It doesn't matter. We're both going through to the final. Centrowitz and Hocker across the line to go through to the final of the men's 1500.
That was one heck of a last lap. That was a 52.02 last lap. They wanted to show what they had. They didn't want to show all their cards, but they were reminding each other, hey, I have a lot of speed to close out with here. You see Cole Hocker just exit the stadium. Here they come down, these two duck stars looking at each other. Centrowitz gives him a little glance. Cole Hocker's fighting him to the line. And finally, Centrowitz says, you know what? All right, you can take it. I don't mind.
That could have been a little good for you. You won an NCAA title. I've won an Olympic gold medal.
It was a great race out of both of them, doing a little chatting, both showing that they're here. They're both serious about making that team, and just a little friendly rivalry here as they run through the line.
Josh Thompson, teammate to Matthew Centrowitz, ran a very good race and a particularly strong finish to come home in third ahead of Henry Wynn. And Sam Prakel will get that auto qualify through to the final, and I can tell you on time from both semis, Waleed Suleiman and Eric Avila will fill those final 2 spots. And here are those key qualifiers going to the final, and you'll see that on Sunday. How about that one, Paul Swangard? What a race.
It was a big race for the fans here in Eugene, and we now direct our attention inside the continuing coverage of the men's discus final, our only final of the day. This is Mason Finley, the All-American while at Kansas, won the trials in 2016, won a medal at the World Championships in 2017, and found his groove in round 4, has gone to the lead, 2:06, with 2 rounds of throwing to go. Lee?
Some phenomenal numbers being seen here today at Hayward Field. Are you ready to see Allyson Felix run again? We saw her finish second in 400 over the week.
This telecast is presented by authority of the United States Olympic and Paralympic Committee and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without the express written consent of the United States Olympic and Paralympic Committee.
Semi-finals action continues here on day 6 of the U.S. Olympic track and field team trials. The road to Tokyo is getting serious. Semi-finals in the women's 200 meters. And as we went to the break, we promised you you'd see Allyson Felix, and here she is.
Her only individual gold medal is in this event. She's also a 3-time world champion in this 200-meter event. She's in lane 9. Sometimes you think, oh, lane 9 is a disadvantage. Not for Allyson Felix. The strength of her race is the straightaway. She'll be happy to run as little turn as possible.
Saw some wonderful family images when Allyson finished second in the 400 final. There's Cameron, her daughter.
And that's her brother and manager, Wes Felix.
So in a stark contrast of experience level, but still a great story is Cambria Sturgis coming off winning the double at the NCAA championships.
And you might think that happens often. It doesn't. The last time it happened was in 2016, Ariana Washington for Oregon. She's only a sophomore, Lee, and usually the shortest in the field, but it has not been a disadvantage for her. She powers through the turn and the straightaway.
And here's Jenna Prandini, who will start in lane 5. Personal best last evening in qualifying. She ran the second fastest time in qualifying, and she kept Allison off of the 2016 200-meter U.S. Olympic team.
And I'm sure for her, like many of the Ducks, it's just something about competing in the stadium, and she looked incredible in the prelim. Nobody runs a lifetime best, a personal best in the preliminary rounds, and she did, so she's in great shape.
And Allison is going to have to get out very aggressively on the turn. You don't want to just leave it late at this stage of qualifying.
Top 3 in each semi, then the next 2 fastest times go through to the final.
Can you left foot back, please? 2. That's good.
Felix out wide in 9. She's got Morlakea Kinnison inside.
And Morlakea has closed the stagger on Allison Felix. Look at Prandini in the middle of this race. She'll come up with a big lead. Allison Felix with some work to do, but she's in a good position.
Flannel on the inside, Jenna Prandini. Here comes Allison Felix down the outside. Top 3 go through to the final. Allison is going to the final in the 200. Prandini wins. Felix gets second.
Another personal best for Prandini. She is rattling them off and looking like 3 people will not beat her tomorrow in that final.
And the way Allison looked in the prelim compared to how she looked in the semi, once again, you just cannot count Allison Felix out when it comes to championship running. There is Jenna Prandini there in lane 5, Allison Felix in lane 9. Like you said, Otto, this was to her advantage to run less turn, to have that big turn, and then be able to go to her strength, which is the final part of the race. Jenna Prandini there over 20 miles an hour and completely in control, dominated the turn, and was able to look around and really relax coming home. And Sturgis, who I thought would compete way better, only 7th.
The collegians are out of gas, some of them officially. So Allison Felix is into yet another Olympic trials final.
Tremendous second half of the race by Desiree Bryant to get that auto qualify to the final. So Jenna Prandini, Allison Felix, Desiree Bryant, Lewis going through.
Absolutely, and she said one more race now to this next final. So Allison in the heat, out in lane 9. Just give us some thoughts on this race.
I was way out there, so I really had to run a good curve and give myself a chance, and I'm taking this all in. Like I said, it's my last time.
All righty, we'll look forward to seeing you then.
Thank you, guys.
The final is tomorrow, and it will be the last time we get to see Allison Felix run at a U.S. Olympic trials. Many other athletes you saw there who have already been told, well done, you're going to Tokyo. Great performance. And that's where we continue the storyline here, establishing who will be the finalists in the women's 200 meters. Second semi-final, and one of the favorites in lane 6, Gabby Thomas.
The Harvard grad said she never even knew how the Olympic trials worked, said she never had intentional dreams for track and field. But her senior season, or her junior season at Harvard, she was the NCAA champ and decided to go pro, and then made the move to Austin, Texas, where she trains with Tanja Buford-Bailey and a group of elite women, which includes Ashley Spencer and Morlakea Kinnison. You see Tanja Buford-Bailey there, an Olympic bronze medalist, who says it's a joy to train Gabby Thomas. She's doing her master's, but she says the way she compartmentalizes, the way she handles the workouts is like no other.
And here's a young lady who had a brilliant NCAA campaign, second at the NCAAs at 200 meters. One of her coaches is Carmelita Jeter, the SEC champion at both 100 and 200 meters.
Cassandra Hall starts on the inside. Quinera Hayes, who's already on the Team USA team, heading to Tokyo because of what she did in the 400 meters. Kyra Jefferson and Anavia Battle, all inside Gabby Thomas there.
And the way Gabby Thomas looked in those heats yesterday, setting the fastest time in the world, I expect her to dominate this semifinal. Brittany Brown got the silver medal at the last World Championships in 2019. She's also going to be a big threat. Tiana Daniels in lane 9. She's already made the team. 100.
Second semi for the women's 200, and this is a stacked field.
And Gabby also ran a lifetime best yesterday, running under 22 seconds. We'll see if she comes out with that kind of running today as well. Off to a great start.
She was surprised by how fast she ran. She said she eased off when she ran that 21.98. Tamara Clark is coming on strong. Gabby Thomas, 21.94. She goes even faster than her heat.
So just like Jenna Prandini, back-to-back personal best times for Gabby Thomas. The wind is legal at 1.8.
My coach always told me, when you run 48 one time, you didn't really run 40. You got to run it 2 or 3 times. You want to say you're sub 49. Well, I'll tell you what, Gabby Thomas can officially say she is sub 22. She's a sub 22 200-meter runner, which is a barrier that all 200-meter runners hope to surpass. And she's doing it comfortably, back-to-back rounds, and still looks like she's not even out of breath.
Son, she said that she has so much expectation on herself that she's been nervous. Addo, she doesn't look like she's running nervous.
No, she doesn't, and she shouldn't be. This performance makes her 10th fastest American all time, and it's what she's doing in the turn that's setting up the straightaway. She's running so well. Her transition from turn to straightaway is just perfect. And now all these quarter miles that she's been running, she is so strong to the line. 3 people aren't beating her, and 3 people aren't beating Prandini. So good luck to Allison Felix and everybody else trying to get that final spot, because these two are not going to be beaten tomorrow.
Gabby Thomas, the 24-year-old, the Harvard grad who is continuing her studies now in Texas, is having quite the meet. She ran 11 flat in her 100 heat the other day. Now she's twice run sub 22 seconds in the 200 meters. A Navia battle with a terrific finish to grab second, and Tamara Clark. And I can tell you on time, Morlakea Kinnison and Lena Irby will go through as the next 2 fastest qualifiers from their time. All right, time to mix it up a little bit when we come back. It's a final. 3 men want to go to Tokyo. It's the 3,000-meter steeplechase final coming up.
And confirmed by the measurement. He makes his way all the way up into second and gets himself on the team. Mason Finley wins it. Sam Mattis also going to Tokyo.
As you can imagine, these Olympic trials are bringing out the best. It has been a phenomenal time, and we've still got 2 more days of competition. The weekend, you'll see it live here on NBC Sports tomorrow and Sunday, where temperatures will reach triple digits. I bet these guys are glad that they are running now with temperatures just in the 90s. This is the final of the men's 3,000-meter steeplechase. Kara Goucher is back, and Hillary Bohr is the favorite.
Hillary Bohr is the favorite. He's a Rio Olympian, 2019 U.S. champion. He had a little rough start to his year, but he went on to win the Diamond League in Gateshead, defeating a loaded international field. He has found his form, and he's ready to rock.
Isaac Updike, he will be one to watch in this as well. I mean, this event has so many to watch. The heats, just to get to where these gentlemen are, were crazy. They were competitive, but they were eventful. They were somewhat controversial in some circumstances. Sean McGordy, he got clipped on the back on his right spike by a fellow competitor, and Kara, he said that he kind of argued with himself. Should I keep going or should I not? No, the track's too hot. I don't want to risk damaging my foot. So look at what he does.
Yeah, you know, he got what we call a flat tire. Someone stepped on the back of his shoe and it came off. And, you know, he ran over a couple barriers and thought, I'm not comfortable. I have to get that back on. But, you know, he stopped for about 10 seconds and still ran an extremely fast time. Has to give him confidence coming in tonight. If things go well, he has a legit shot.
He tried to play catch up. He was about 40-plus meters behind. He didn't get the automatic qualified, but Sean McGordy did qualify on time. Quite the story.
Set up.
Did they not like Anthony Rotich with his foot on the line?
They
Maybe?
didn't like that. That might be against the rules.
That's better, Anthony. We're away. Men's final of the 3,000-meter steeplechase. 3 athletes will go to Tokyo at the end of this race.
You know, Lee, it is hot out there. You know, it's really hot, and it will affect these men over 3,000 meters. And contrary to popular belief, you don't get cool when you run through that water. So this is going to affect the race a little bit. It is hot, and it is oppressive, and it will build as this race goes on.
How about the 31-year-old Don Cabral, 2-time Olympian? Could he make it 3? That would be quite the feat.
You know, he has a lot going on. He's studying for the bar, but, you know, he's confident where he's at. He said he's liked his progression throughout the season. He knows what to do. He's made the Olympic finals twice, so he's comfortable where he is, and he knows his body well.
Here comes Hilary Bohr right around the outside. He's there with Isaac Updike and chasing Don Cabral.
And we see Isaac Updike there. What a year he's had. He actually leads the Americans here with the fastest time of the year. You know, he didn't get a big contract out of college here and at Eastern Oregon, and he was working at Fred Meyer, he was working at Dick's Sporting Goods, and he had to really work to keep his Olympic dream alive, and here he is in the final with the fastest time of the year.
I like his openness, right? The Alaskan says, I didn't know any shoe company execs. I didn't go to the Junior Olympics. I didn't have that kind of typical celebrated path. I just had to find other ways and means to get here.
He just had to want it. You know, he had to want it so bad and keep his dream alive. And here it is. He's had such a breakthrough year, running big personal bests, and one of the 6 men in this race who has run the Olympic standard.
There's Sean McGorty in the white top, the Bowerman track top. You see the lightning bolts there. McGorty running second with Bohr. And the story we told you at the top of the show with his spike coming off at the back, had to stop, hook it back up again and play catch up.
You know, McGorty is new to the steeplechase this year. He's been mentored by Evan Jager. He had a great debut, and then he had a second race where his coach Lane Flanagan told me he had a little bit of a brain fart, and he had a little bit of a confidence issue after that, but Evan Jager really coached him through that, and they feel confident that he can run with anyone today.
By the way, that's a great point that you've made. Evan Jager. No Evan Jager here at the trials. He is dealing with injury and wasn't ready for a shot at Tokyo.
You know, we see in the middle of the pack there, tall, lean, Mason Furlick, hip 13. He has also run really fast this year. He has run personal best in all sorts of different events, but he's really put himself as a contender here. He trains with Nick Willis and Hobbs Kessler in that group out of Michigan, coached by Ron Warhurst, and he is looking to make his first team. He talked about how after the prelim, he can't be nervous for 96 hours. He spent time with family, and he really looked at it as Monday was a little bit of a hard workout, and then Friday is the big hard workout, and the rest days in between are just to relax.
Third of the way through this men's 3,000-meter final. Who is going to go to Tokyo? They're doing it tough here. It is a hot evening in the Pacific Northwest. Don Cabral leads the way.
Impatience is a virtue. When you know what you want, waiting isn't an option. New Balance, we got now.
Bun, mayo, chicken pickle, bun.
Bun, pickle,
Blasphemy!
4 laps to go in the men's 3,000-meter steeplechase final. Don Cabral has led from the gun. The 31-year-old from Glastonbury, Connecticut. Could he make his 3rd Olympic team?
We also see right up front there, hip number 7 kind of flapping. He's wearing long shorts. We see Daniel Michalski, who has one heck of a story. You know, during the pandemic, he was delivering groceries for Walmart, doing online orders. He joined a group called the Working Men's Track Club, and he's pushed his way into a chance at making this Olympic team here today.
Bernard Keita is right there also as he leaps over the water jump to draw level with Don Cabral. And Keita is pushing the front and pushing the pace. Hillary Bohr is still in there. Michalski on the inside.
Keita has been having a good year. He ran a personal best this year. You know, he came from Texas Tech. That's where he ran in college, where he had a great career there too. And he's really sort of taken that step forward this year and running under the Olympic standard, running up front in races and giving himself a chance to make this team today.
Isaac Updike in the blue and green on the outside. They're running fourth. Tucked in behind Hillary Bohr and Bernard Keita. Keita is one of the 6 with that Olympic qualifying standard time. It's 8:22, 8 minutes 22 seconds even.
You know, Lee, this is one of the more open races we have at the Olympic trials. There are so many men here who have a legitimate chance to make this team. And now as we see, you know, it's going to start cranking here. All of these men are still together. They need to find some separation. Whoever's going to make this team is going to need to be ready for a move to be made, be ready to cover it. You know, they're coming down here now. They're going to have 3 laps to go. And this is serious racing here.
Look on the outside in the red top there, running 4. That's Mason Furlick. He said one of the most difficult things about this race is keeping your emotions in check. Control yourself. Be within yourself. Manage your race properly, and you can be there at the end. Well, with 2 laps to go, Furlick is there towards the end.
Yes, I misspoke. There's only 2 laps to go. So now we're going to see this start really, this whole race really start to ratchet down. You know, they can't have so many people together. This is where people are starting to sniff it out. They're looking around. They're seeing how everyone else is feeling. And they know someone's going to press. They know it's going to come down here in the next lap and a half, and they have to be ready to cover any and all moves.
Can you imagine if Don Cabral goes from gun to line and gets his 3rd Olympic berth? It would be incredible for the 31-year-old.
It would be epic. He looks good. You know, he's done a lot of the work, though, and it is hot. And now we see Hillary Bohr has decided this is the time he's going to go and push through on the water jump and take control of this race.
They're coming to the bell lap. Isaac Updike is going with Hillary Bohr. Mason Furlick comes. Here comes Keita. And Michalski is in the mix as well. There's a breakaway group here. There's 6 runners who have formed their own group, and it's going to be in half because only 3 will go to Tokyo. Isaac Updike leads into the bell lap.
Isaac Updike is taking this race. He wants this so bad. He's worked so hard to be here. He's from Ketchikan, Alaska, less than 9,000 people, and here he is leading the Olympic trials. He's worked so hard. He didn't get a fancy contract out of college. He didn't have that support, and he's kept this dream alive by his own accord.
He's run the fastest time by an American this year. He ran that here in Oregon at the Oregon Relays, but he's been overtaken by Hillary Bohr and Bernard Keita.
This is going to be such a good finish. As they come out of the water pit, we'll see. Everyone needs a clean water jump. If you want to have a shot at this team right now, you need a clean water jump. And we see Isaac Updike and Mason Furlick with an epic battle for 3rd.
This is it, going for that final spot. And Mason Furlick has overtaken Updike and breaks away. Now Michalski is giving chase. But it's Hillary Bohr, the 2019 U.S. champion, is going to be going to an Olympics. That 3rd spot is not confirmed yet, though. Mason Furlick knows he's got to pick up, and he does. Gets the 3rd and final spot. Hillary Bohr wins over Bernard Keita and Mason Furlick for that all-important 3rd and final spot and a trip to Tokyo.
What a race by Furlick. He stayed calm and collected during the race. We didn't see him that often, but when it came to matter, he was there. But of course, Hillary Bohr, the champion, you know, he showed this in 2019. He showed that I'm here. He stepped up when Evan Jager was back, and he's continuing that legacy now. But what a race out of Furlick. Such smart and patient racing. He's never been on a stage before where he was ready to make an Olympic team, and he really ran smart, collected, and was there when it mattered in that last 100 meters.
Not in a cocky way, in a confident way. Mason Furlick right there on screen said, I know I'm a championship level runner, and he just proved it by getting a spot to Tokyo. Hillary Bohr out in front. Look at this final water jump. And is that where Mason Furlick made his move? You betcha.
Absolutely. He came out of that water pit with so much more momentum, so much cleaner. Updike had a little stumble there, and Furlick took full advantage. He just popped out of there, looked ahead, and then he was just fighting for home. We saw Bohr. He looked over. You know, he saw Keita, and he said, I want to win this. Even though we're buddies and we train together at times, I want to win this. And then Mason Furlick was running all the way through to protect that spot from a fast-closing Michalski.
And Bernard Keita looking around, just checking it out. He's a two-time Big 12 steeplechase champion at Texas Tech. Well, now he's got a bigger title than that. He's an Olympian, and so too is Mason Furlick. Incredible final stanza to that race. And the Olympic rings proudly next to Hillary Bohr.